Hello there, and a very warm welcome, wherever you are in the world and whatever time it may be. Perhaps the sun has just set where you are, casting long, tired shadows across your room. Or maybe it's the quiet, lonely hours just before dawn, when the world feels like it's holding its breath. I am so glad you are here with us tonight. I often wonder where our stories travel to, picturing them drifting into a cozy bedroom in a bustling city, or maybe a quiet home nestled in the countryside, a single light on in the dark. It's a wonderful thought that we are all connected for a little while by a shared story. So if you feel inclined, I would be happy to know in the comments where you're watching from. No pressure at all, of course. It's just a pleasant thought to hold on to as we begin our journey. Now, find a comfortable position. Let your shoulders relax. Let the weight of the day begin to loosen its grip. Take a slow, deep breath and let it out with a gentle sigh. We are about to leave the familiar world behind. Our destination tonight is not one of sunshine and open fields, not a place of rolling hills or gentle flowing rivers. We are going down into the deep places of the earth, into a realm of eternal twilight and profound silence. So, let us begin our descent. It starts not with a movement, but with a change in the air. As you close your eyes, you can almost feel it. The atmosphere in your room begins to feel a little heavier, a little more still. The tiny, chaotic currents of air caused by your heating or an open window seem to die down, replaced by a deep, ancient stillness. And the temperature begins to fall, not with an unpleasant chill, but with a cool, clean quality, like stepping into a stone cellar on a hot summer's day. It is the deep, patient cold of rock, a cold that has not been touched by the sun's warmth for millennia. It feels clean, pure, and very, very old. We continue downward, sinking slowly through an imaginary bedrock. And as we descend, the memory of natural light begins to fade. The warm, golden light of the sun, the cool silver light of the moon, the cheerful twinkle of the stars, all of these things are left behind, like memories of a world you once knew. The darkness that replaces them is not an empty, frightening blackness. It is a soft, heavy, velvety dark, a darkness that has substance and weight. It seems to wrap around you like a thick, comforting blanket. And with this new darkness comes a change in the scent of the world. The familiar smells of your home, of wood, of fabric, of cooking, they all dissipate, replaced by something much older. The first thing you notice is the clean, sharp smell of stone. It's the scent of flint and granite and obsidian, a dry, mineral perfume that speaks of immense pressure and a geological slowness. Beneath that, a new scent emerges. It is the smell of damp earth, but not the rich, loamy smell of a garden after a rainstorm. This is a different kind of dampness. It is the scent of moisture that has seeped through miles of rock, becoming filtered and purified, carrying with it only the faintest trace of the minerals it has passed through. It is the clean, cool smell of a world that has never known rot or decay in the way the surface world does. It is the scent of permanence. We continue downward, sinking slowly through an imaginary bedrock. And as we descend, the memory of natural light begins to fade. The warm, golden light of the sun, the cool silver light of the moon, the cheerful twinkle of the stars, all of these things are left behind, like memories of a world you once knew. The darkness that replaces them is not an empty, frightening blackness. It is a soft, heavy, velvety dark, a darkness that has substance and weight. It seems to wrap around you like a thick, comforting blanket. And with this new darkness comes a change in the scent of the world. The familiar smells of your home, of wood, of fabric, of cooking, they all dissipate, replaced by something much older. The first thing you notice is the clean, sharp smell of stone. It's the scent of flint and granite and obsidian, a dry, mineral perfume that speaks of immense pressure and a geological slowness. Beneath that, a new scent emerges. It is the smell of damp earth, but not the rich, loamy smell of a garden after a rainstorm. This is a different kind of dampness. It is the scent of moisture that has seeped through miles of rock, becoming filtered and purified, carrying with it only the faintest trace of the minerals it has passed through. It is the clean, cool smell of a world that has never known rot or decay in the way the surface world does. It is the scent of permanence. As we sink deeper still, the silence becomes more profound. The ambient noises of the surface world, the distant hum of traffic, the chirp of a cricket, the whisper of the wind, have long since vanished. The silence here is so complete that it feels like a presence in itself. It is a silence that absorbs sound, that deadens echoes. The only thing you can hear is the soft, rhythmic sound of your own breathing, and perhaps the slow, steady beat of your own heart. It's a meditative, peaceful state, a return to the simplest of rhythms. Just when you think the darkness is absolute and eternal, you begin to notice something new. At the very edge of your perception, a new kind of light begins to emerge. It is not the warm, flickering light of a flame. It is a cold, alien luminescence, a light that seems to be born from the rock itself. At first, it's just a faint, ghostly tracery, a network of pale, glowing lines that look like veins of moonlight trapped within the stone. Then, as we descend further, you begin to see its source. Patches of phosphorescent fungi cling to the cavern walls, casting a soft, ethereal glow. They come in shades of ghostly green, deep violet, and a pale spectral blue. Their light does not cast sharp shadows. Instead, it creates a world of soft, rounded edges and shifting, dreamlike colors. It is a beautiful, silent, living light. We have arrived. We are now in one of the great upper caverns of the Underdark, a city of the night. The scale is immense, larger than any cathedral built by human hands, and it is utterly silent. There is no wind here, no weather, only the eternal, patient stillness of the deep earth. And it is here, in this place of profound silence and cold, unearthly beauty, that our story for tonight truly begins. Tonight, we are here to witness a sacred and dangerous ceremony. We are here to witness a wedding. But this is not a wedding of men or of the surface-dwelling elves, with their joyous feasts and their heartfelt public declarations of love. Such things are considered inefficient here. This is a union of the Docalfar, the Dark Elves, and their traditions are as deep, as cold, and as beautiful as the caverns they call home. They are a people forged in darkness and pressure, and so their most sacred rituals reflect that. A dark elf wedding is not a celebration of finding a soulmate. It is more akin to a political treaty, a corporate merger, and a final exam all rolled into one. It is a fascinating, intricate, and deeply serious affair, where a misplaced word or a moment of weakness can have dire consequences. So, let us be quiet observers. Let us find a shadowy ledge far from the main thoroughfares and watch as the first strange traditions of this subterranean union begin to unfold. To understand a dark elf wedding, we must first unlearn everything we think we know about the very purpose of marriage. On the sunlit surface of the world, a wedding is often seen as the culmination of a romance, a public declaration of love, and a promise of lifelong companionship. It is a ceremony built on a foundation of emotion, a celebration of two hearts becoming one. Here, in the cold, glowing silence of the Underdark, such notions are considered quaint, naive, and, above all, strategically unsound. For the Docalfar, marriage is rarely, if ever, about the union of hearts. It is, fundamentally, about the union of houses. It is a strategic, political, and intensely practical tool, wielded with the same cool precision as a poisoned dagger or a well-placed piece of information. Their society is a complex and unforgiving matriarchy, a great, glittering web of power where noble houses, each led by a formidable matriarch, are in a state of constant, low-grade warfare. It is a war fought not with armies on open fields, but with whispers in shadowy corridors, with subtle acts of sabotage, with assassination, and with the careful, deliberate alliances that can elevate a house to greater glory, or condemn it to utter ruin. In this treacherous landscape, marriage is one of the most powerful weapons in a matriarch's arsenal. It is not an act of love, it is an act of acquisition. A powerful matriarch might arrange a marriage for her eldest daughter as a way to absorb a lesser but still valuable house into her own. The lesser house would gain the protection and prestige of being aligned with a greater power, while the matriarch would gain all of its assets, its resources, its political connections, its magical knowledge, and its sworn soldiers. It is a corporate merger where one company is bought out by another. its name and identity subsumed into the larger entity. Or a marriage might be used to forge a crucial alliance against a common and more powerful rival. Two mid-level houses, both threatened by the expansion of a dominant matriarch, might unite their children in matrimony. This union would create a new combined power block, a strategic partnership designed to counter the influence of their shared enemy. It is a treaty signed not with ink, but with blood and vows, a public declaration of a new political reality. Perhaps the most common reason for a marriage, however, is the acquisition of a specific desirable trait. The Do-Kalfar are obsessed with purity of bloodline and the cultivation of magical talent. A matriarch might seek out a consort for her daughter from a family known for producing exceptionally powerful wizards, hoping to introduce that potent magical aptitude into her own genetic line. Or she might seek a groom from a family renowned for its ancient, untainted lineage, a way to bolster her own house's claims to noble heritage. In this sense, marriage is a form of selective breeding, a cold and calculated effort to improve the quality of the family's stock. The entire process of selecting a partner is a masterpiece of cold, detached calculation. A matriarch wishing to find a suitable consort for her heir does not host grand balls or social gatherings to allow the young people to mingle. Instead, she retreats to her private chambers with her most trusted advisors. There, surrounded by star charts, genealogical maps, and scrolls of secret intelligence, she assesses the available candidates. It is a process that can take years, and emotion plays no part in it. A potential suitor is not judged on his character, his kindness, or his sense of humor. He is judged as an asset, a collection of desirable traits to be weighed and measured. The matriarch and her advisors will study the candidate's family tree, looking for any signs of impurity or weakness in his bloodline. They will analyze reports from spies detailing the influence and wealth of his family, calculating exactly what his house could bring to an alliance. They will review the results of his magical examinations at the city's academy, noting his aptitude for specific schools of magic. Is he a gifted illusionist, a powerful evoker, or perhaps skilled in the dark and subtle arts of enchantment? Even his physical attributes are scrutinized, not for attractiveness, but for signs of good health and genetic strength. It is a transaction as simple and as unsentimental as a merchant assessing the quality of a gemstone. The suitor is a piece being moved on a vast political chessboard, and the matriarch is a grandmaster thinking a dozen moves ahead. His own feelings on the matter are, of course, completely irrelevant. He is an object, a prize, a tool to be used for the advancement of his future bride's house. Now, this does not mean that love, as we understand it, does not exist among the Dark Elves. It does, but it is a very different creature from the open, celebrated emotion of the surface world. For the Do-Kalfar, love is considered a dangerous vulnerability. To openly love someone is to give your enemies a weapon to use against you. It is a weakness, an emotional blind spot that a clever rival can exploit with devastating efficiency. Therefore, if affection does bloom between two Dark Elves, It is a secret thing. It is kept hidden, nurtured in private, a small secret garden grown in a world of cold stone and shadow. A Dokalfar might have a trusted companion, a secret confidant, a person for whom they feel a deep and genuine bond. But this person will almost never be their spouse. The public, political union of marriage and the private, vulnerable union of the heart are two separate and distinct paths, and a wise dark elf never allows them to cross. The marriage is for the good of the house. The secret affection is for the solace of the self. To confuse the two is to invite disaster. It is a remarkably practical, if deeply cynical, approach to relationships. But in the eternal, treacherous twilight of the Underdark, practicality is the key to survival. And so, the foundation of the wedding we are about to witness is not built on shared dreams or romantic promises. It is built on a bedrock of strategy, ambition, and the cold, hard logic of power. It is a beautiful, intricate, and utterly heartless affair. And the first strange traditions are about to begin. Now that we understand the cold, strategic purpose behind a dark elf marriage, let us turn our attention to the groom. In the sunlit kingdoms of the surface world, a prince or a nobleman who marries into a powerful family often does so to consolidate his own power, to become a king or a ruler in his own right. He is an active player, a partner in a joint venture. Here, in the matriarchal depths, the role of the male, the consort, is fundamentally different. He is the chosen one, yes, but his position is one of immense prestige, not of direct power. He is a beautiful, valuable, and carefully selected ornament, but an ornament nonetheless. His entire worth is extrinsic, tied directly to the assets he brings with him from his old life to his new one. He is, in the simplest terms, the ultimate status symbol for the matriarch. To be selected as a consort for the daughter of a powerful matriarch is the highest honor a male dark elf can achieve. It is the culmination of his entire upbringing. From birth, male children in noble houses are groomed for this very purpose. Their education is rigorous, focused on honing the skills and traits that the great matriarchs find most desirable. They are trained in the magical arts, their aptitude for spellcraft pushed to its absolute limits. They study politics, history, and strategy, not to become leaders themselves, but to become wise and useful counselors to their future wives. They are taught etiquette, poetry, and the fine art of conversation, all to make them pleasant and impressive in the glittering, treacherous social circles of the city. Even their physical training is geared towards a certain aesthetic. They are not encouraged to become brawny, heavily muscled warriors. Instead, they cultivate a lean, graceful strength, an agile and deadly elegance that is seen as the height of masculine beauty. A male dark elf is expected to be intelligent, magically gifted, culturally sophisticated, and aesthetically pleasing. He is, in essence, a work of art, and his purpose is to be acquired and displayed by a powerful house. Because of this, the competition to be chosen as a consort is fierce and often deadly. Ambitious noble families will pour all of their resources into a promising male heir, hoping that his selection will be their ticket to a higher station in the city's ruthless hierarchy. This leads to a long, clandestine, and often brutal process of proving one's worth. These are not the romantic jousts and tournaments of surface world knights held in open fields for the amusement of a cheering crowd. The trials of a dockfall suitor are carried out in secret, over months, sometimes even years. And they are tests not of strength, but of cunning, loyalty, and a profound capacity for cruelty. A matriarch considering several potential suitors for her daughter might issue each of them a secret challenge, a task designed to test a specific quality she seeks. For one suitor, the test might be one of subtlety and infiltration. He might be tasked with acquiring a vial of a rare and incredibly potent poison, a substance distilled from the venom of a near-mythical subterranean serpent. To do so, he would need to navigate the city's criminal underworld, deal with shadowy alchemists, and likely betray or eliminate his contacts to cover his tracks. Success would prove his resourcefulness and his moral flexibility, both highly valued traits. A male Dark Elf is expected to be intelligent, magically gifted, culturally sophisticated, and aesthetically pleasing. He is, in essence, a work of art, and his purpose is to be acquired and displayed by a powerful house. Because of this, the competition to be chosen as a consort is fierce and often deadly. Ambitious noble families will pour all of their resources into a promising male heir, hoping that his selection will be their ticket to a higher station in the city's ruthless hierarchy. This leads to a long, clandestine, and often brutal process of proving one's worth. These are not the romantic jousts and tournaments of surface world knights held in open fields for the amusement of a cheering crowd. The trials of a dockfall suitor are carried out in secret, over months, sometimes even years, and they are tests not of strength, but of cunning, loyalty, and a profound capacity for cruelty. A matriarch considering several potential suitors for her daughter might issue each of them a secret challenge, a task designed to test a specific quality she seeks. For one suitor, the test might be one of subtlety and infiltration. He might be tasked with acquiring a vial of a rare and incredibly potent poison, a substance distilled from the venom of a near-mythical subterranean serpent. To do so, he would need to navigate the city's criminal underworld, deal with shadowy alchemists, and likely betray or eliminate his contacts to cover his tracks. Success would prove his resourcefulness and his moral flexibility, both highly valued traits. For another suitor, the test might be one of espionage and intelligence gathering. He could be commanded to uncover the damaging secret about a rival house, proof of a forbidden pact with a demonic entity, or evidence of a tainted bloodline. This would require him to employ spies, to bribe servants, to magically charm his way into private chambers, and to sift through mountains of misinformation to find a single, verifiable truth. Success would demonstrate his cunning and his ability to navigate the complex web of political intrigue. And for a third suitor, the test might be one of pure, raw survival. The matriarch might command him to journey into the deepest, most dangerous, and unmapped regions of the Underdark, the monster-infested wilderness that lies beyond the city's walls. He might be tasked with retrieving a specific geological sample, or simply with surviving for a set period of time and returning with proof of his journey. This is a test of his wits, his resilience, and his personal power, a demonstration that he can face the primal horrors of the depths and emerge unbroken. Many suitors do not return from these trials. They might be double-crossed by an alchemist, discovered by a rival's assassins, or devoured by some nameless, chitinous beast in the outer dark. This, too, is part of the selection process. The trials serve to weed out the weak, the unlucky, and the foolish, leaving only the most capable candidates. The survivors do not boast of their accomplishments. They simply present the proof of their success to the matriarch's intermediaries: the vial of poison, the damning scroll, the glowing rock from the deep caves. And then they wait. The final choice, when it is made, is not announced with fanfare or a grand proclamation. There is no ceremony where the bride-to-be chooses her favorite from a lineup of handsome suitors. The decision is a quiet, final judgment, made in the cold, calculating privacy of the matriarch's council chamber. It is a signature on a document, a quiet word to a trusted lieutenant. The first to be informed are the families of the unsuccessful suitors. A polite, formal, and chillingly impersonal message is delivered, thanking them for their interest and wishing them well. It is a dismissal that can shatter a family's ambitions for a generation. For the chosen one, the news arrives with a different kind of gravity. It is not a celebration, but a transfer of ownership. A high-ranking priestess from the matriarch's house, flanked by 2 stoic guards, will arrive at his family's estate. They are not there to congratulate. They are there to collect. The moment the formal announcement is made, the groom's old life is over. His family is, of course, elevated. They will enjoy new privileges, new wealth, and the immense prestige of being aligned with a great house. But the groom himself, the instrument of their good fortune, is no longer truly part of their family. He now belongs body and soul to his new house. He will pack his finest robes, his magical components, and a few sentimental trinkets, and he will leave the home of his birth forever. From this moment on, he is the consort-to-be, a valuable asset whose every action reflects upon his future wife and her powerful mother. The selection has been made. The piece has been moved. And now, the strange and intricate rituals of the wedding itself can begin. Once the matriarch has made her final, unassailable choice, the formal process of betrothal can begin. In the kingdoms of the surface world, An engagement might be announced by a royal herald with a blast of trumpets, or by a sealed proclamation delivered by a messenger on a fine horse. Such methods are, to the Docalfar, laughably crude and inefficient. They are public, they are slow, and they are vulnerable to interception. The Dark Elves prefer a method that is far more elegant, more secretive, and infinitely more suited to their subterranean world. The engagement is not announced by a person at all. It is announced by a creature. From the deep, guarded silk pens of the matriarchal house, an emissary is dispatched. It is a creature known as a venom weaver. This is not some monstrous, hairy beast of nightmare. A venom weaver is a thing of strange and breathtaking beauty, a testament to generations of meticulous, magical breeding. It is a species of cave spider, but it is larger than any normal specimen, roughly the size of a human hand. Its body is not a dull, drab brown or black. It is a shimmering, iridescent obsidian, shot through with veins of deep, hypnotic purple. Its 8 long, graceful legs move with a silent, fluid precision, and its multiple eyes are not beady points of black, but faceted, glittering jewels that seem to drink in the faint phosphorescent light of the caverns. The venom in its name is a slight misnomer, a piece of deliberate misinformation to discourage tampering. Through careful alchemical and magical manipulation of its silk glands, the spider does not produce a lethal toxin. Instead, it produces a highly specialized silk imbued with a potent but entirely non-lethal paralytic agent. A single touch of its freshly spun silk can render a limb numb and immobile for several hours. This makes the venom weaver an exceptionally effective guardian of its own message, as any who would try to interfere with it would quickly find their hands becoming useless, clumsy lumps of flesh. This eerie and beautiful creature is the matriarch's chosen messenger. It does not travel through the main, well-lit thoroughfares of the Dark Elf city. That would be far too conspicuous. Instead, it navigates a hidden, parallel city of its own, a network of tiny, secret tunnels, maintenance shafts, and forgotten passages that crisscross the entire settlement, known only to the spiders and their masters. The venom weaver moves through this secret world with an uncanny sense of direction, its sensitive legs feeling the subtle vibrations in the rock, its jewel-like eyes perceiving shifts in the faint magical currents that flow through the earth. Its destination is the grand, sprawling estate of the groom's family. It does not knock on the front door. It finds a small, discreet entrance, a ventilation grate, a loose stone in the foundation, a drain pipe from a bathing chamber, and slips inside, as silent and as unnoticed as a shadow. It makes its way to the family's private council chamber, a place where they conduct their most sensitive business. And there, in a dark, quiet corner of the room, it begins its work. The venom weaver does not carry a scroll. The message is not written. It is woven. The spider begins to spin a web, but it is unlike any normal web designed to catch prey. It is a small, dense, perfectly circular tapestry of silk, no larger than a dinner plate. The patterns it weaves are not random. They are a complex and intricate language, a form of coded, tactile communication that is one of the most guarded secrets of the Dok-Alfar nobility. Every line, every spiral, every geometric shape has a precise meaning. The number of anchor points on the web indicates the rank of the matriarch making the offer. The tightness of the central spiral signifies the proposed timeline for the wedding. The intricate, knot-like patterns woven into the main strands detail the dowry, the political concessions, the exchange of assets, and all the other cold, hard terms of the marriage contract. At the very center of the web, the spider weaves the personal sigil of the chosen groom, an unmistakable declaration of the matriarch's choice. The process of weaving this message takes several hours, a slow, patient, and mesmerizing dance of silk and shadow. Once the web is complete, the venom weaver settles itself in the center, its iridescent body a living jewel upon a tapestry of shimmering paralytic silk, and it waits. It might wait for hours, it might wait for a full day, perfectly still, perfectly silent. The discovery of the web is a moment of profound, heart-stopping tension for the groom's family. The head of the house, usually the groom's father or eldest uncle, will enter the council chamber and immediately sense the spider's presence, the faint, ozone-like scent of its magic hanging in the air. He will see the web, and his blood will run cold. It is a moment of both supreme triumph and absolute terror. Their son has been chosen. Their house is to be elevated. But now they must accept the terms. This is the final ritual, the acceptance. The entire family gathers in the chamber. The groom stands at the forefront, his face a pale, unreadable mask. The head of the house approaches the web. He cannot touch it, of course. He must read the terms by sight alone. His knowledge of the complex web language tested in this crucial moment. He examines every detail, every nuance of the woven contract. He sees the greatness of the house making the offer, and a thrill of pride runs through him. He sees the generous terms of the alliance, and he feels a sense of relief. He sees the short timeline before the wedding, and a knot of anxiety tightens in his stomach. Once he has understood the entire contract, he turns to his family and gives a single, slow nod. The terms are acceptable. It is now time to seal the pact. The groom steps forward. He is handed a small obsidian ritual dagger. With a steady hand, he makes a tiny cut on the tip of his finger, squeezing a single dark droplet of blood. He then extends his hand, his finger hovering just above the web. This is the most dangerous moment. A single tremor, a moment of hesitation, could cause his finger to brush against the paralytic silk, a deeply shameful omen that would bring dishonor to his entire family. He must be calm, focused, and utterly resolute. He lets the drop of blood fall from his fingertip, a perfect crimson sphere, onto the very center of the web, directly upon his own woven sigil. The blood does not soak through. It is held there by the strange magical properties of the silk. The venom weaver, which has been perfectly still until this moment, now stirs. It moves to the center of the web, and with a delicate, almost reverent motion, it consumes the drop of blood. This is the symbolic act of acceptance, the signing of the contract. The spider has ingested the groom's essence, binding him to its mistress. Its task now complete, the venom weaver meticulously deconstructs the web, consuming every last strand of the contract until no evidence remains. It then turns, gives the assembled family a final inscrutable look from its glittering jewel-like eyes, and slips back into the shadows, returning to its matriarch with the news that the pact is sealed. The room is left in a state of stunned, reverberating silence. The engagement is official. The son of the house is now the property of another, and the price of their newfound glory is a sacrifice they have willingly and fearfully made. With the marriage contract now sealed by blood and silk, the period between the betrothal and the wedding ceremony begins. In many cultures, this would be a time of celebration, of feasts and happy preparations. For the Dokhalfar, it is a period of intense scrutiny and subtle psychological warfare. This is best exemplified by the traditional exchange of gifts between the bride and groom. These are not tokens of affection, not sentimental keepsakes meant to express budding love. A dark elf gift is never just a gift. It is a test. It is a carefully calibrated challenge, a puzzle, and a statement of power, all wrapped in a veneer of polite tradition. Each gift is designed to probe the recipient for a specific desirable quality, and failure to pass the test can have serious, if unspoken, consequences for one's reputation. Let us first consider the gift sent from the bride to her chosen consort. A few days after the visit from the venom weaver, a small, heavily guarded entourage from the bride's house will arrive at the groom's estate. They carry with them a single, small object, which they present to the groom with solemn formality. It is a box, but it is unlike any box he has ever seen. It is known as a whisper box. The box is a perfect cube, roughly the size of a human fist, carved from a single flawless piece of polished obsidian. Its surface is cool and smooth to the touch, and it is covered in an impossibly intricate latticework of carved geometric patterns. The craftsmanship is breathtaking, the lines so fine that they seem to have been etched by magic rather than by any physical tool. The most unnerving feature of the whisper box, however, is what it lacks. There are no visible seams, no hinges, no keyhole, no button or switch. It appears to be a solid, seamless object, a perfect, impenetrable cube of black glass. The gift bearers will inform the groom in a cold, formal tone that the box contains a gift from his future bride, a single, valuable secret. It is whispered among the nobility that these secrets are often pieces of actionable intelligence. The location of a rival's hidden treasury, the true name of a summoned demon in their service, or the nature of a specific ward guarding their estate. It is a piece of information that could be used to gain a significant advantage in the city's great political game. And there is one simple instruction. The groom must open the box and retrieve the secret before the wedding day. He must do so without breaking the box, without marring its perfect surface, and without using any form of destructive magic. This is his test. It is not a test of strength, but of intellect, patience, and subtlety. The Whisper Box is a complex and cunning puzzle. It is not a simple mechanical device. Its secrets are bound by illusion, by misdirection, and by esoteric magical triggers. The carved patterns on its surface are not merely decorative. They are a schematic, a complex riddle that hints at the box's true nature. The groom will spend the coming weeks in quiet, focused contemplation, his mind entirely consumed by this small black cube. He will run his fingers over its surface, tracing the intricate patterns, trying to feel for some subtle variation in texture or temperature. He might try to meditate while holding it, looking for faint auras or hidden magical scripts. He might spend days simply looking at it from every conceivable angle, trying to understand the logic of its design. The methods of opening the box are said to be as varied and as clever as the matriarchs who commissioned them. Perhaps a specific sequence of the carved patterns must be pressed in a precise order. Perhaps the box must be exposed to a specific combination of magical energies, a touch of elemental fire, followed by a whisper of shadow magic. Perhaps it only opens when a specific, secret word is spoken in its presence, a word that must be deduced from the clues in the carved latticework. It is a test of everything he has learned in his years of study. Failure is not an option. To be unable to open the box is to declare to his powerful new family that he is a fool, that his mind is not as sharp as they were led to believe. It would be a source of profound, personal shame, and it would set the tone for his entire married life, marking him as a consort of lesser intellect. If he succeeds, he not only gains the valuable secret within, but he proves his worth. He demonstrates that he possesses the cunning, the patience, and the subtle mind required to be a worthy partner to his bride. Now, let us consider the gift that the groom must, in turn, present to his bride. His task is, in many ways, even more daunting. It is a test not of the mind, but of courage, resourcefulness, and a willingness to face the raw, primal dangers of the world. He must present his future bride with a single, perfect flower. A simple enough task, one might think, but this is the Underdark. There are no sunny meadows or gentle manicured gardens. And this cannot be just any flower. It must be a legendary specimen known as a grave bloom. The grave bloom is not a true flower, but a rare and incredibly beautiful phosphorescent fungus. It is said to be the most beautiful thing in the entire subterranean world. It grows a single, delicate, bell-shaped head, formed from what appear to be threads of pure, solidified moonlight. It emits a soft, pulsing, silvery white light, a glow so pure and so calming that it is said to quiet the most troubled of minds. But its beauty is matched only by the danger of its habitat. The grave bloom is a necrophytic fungus, meaning it only grows on the decaying remains of other organisms. And it is incredibly particular. It will only grow on the corpses of powerful, magical beasts that have died in the deepest, most remote, and most dangerous caverns of the Underdark. To acquire a grave bloom, the groom must venture out of the relative safety of the city and journey into the unmapped, monster-infested wilderness. He must hunt for the resting place of a recently deceased purple worm, a slain behir, or a fallen Fomorian giant. He must face the territorial predators that are drawn to such large carcasses. He must navigate treacherous, unstable tunnels and avoid the myriad natural hazards of the deep caves. He is not just a suitor. He is an adventurer undertaking a perilous quest. He cannot simply bring back any grave bloom. It must be a single, perfect specimen. The bell must be unblemished, the stem unbroken, the light within it pulsing with a strong, steady rhythm. To present a bruised or wilted bloom would be an insult, a sign that he is either clumsy or that he settled for a lesser, more easily acquired specimen. This is his test of courage. It is his way of proving that he is not just a pampered academic noble, but that he possesses the strength and the will to face true danger for the sake of his bride. He must prove that he is a worthy protector of her lineage. The exchange of these gifts is a perfect encapsulation of the Dark Elf martial philosophy. The bride, from a position of safety and power, tests her consort's mind. The groom, from a position of subservience, must risk his very life to prove his physical and spiritual fortitude. It is a complex, dangerous, and deeply symbolic dance, a prelude to a union where intellect and courage must be forged into a single formidable weapon. While the groom is engaged in his perilous quest for the grave bloom and his intellectual battle with the whisper box, his bride-to-be is undergoing her own set of intricate, traditional preparations. The most significant and time-consuming of these is the creation of her wedding attire. On the surface, a bride's gown is often a vision of purity and light, a flowing creation of white silk and delicate lace. Here, in the heart of the shadow-drenched city, the bridal gown is a thing of the opposite nature. It is a masterpiece of darkness, a garment designed not to reflect light, but to absorb it, to command the very shadows themselves. It is known as the Kelthsar, the shadow gown. The creation of a shadow gown is a sacred and highly secretive process, entrusted only to a cloistered order of artisans who are, in many ways, as strange and as rare as the materials they work with. They are known as the Silent Weavers. This is not a formal title. It is a simple, literal description of their condition. The weavers are all Doklfar women, chosen at a young age for their preternatural sensitivity and their absolute dedication to their craft. And they are all blind. Some are born without sight, while others undergo a ritual blinding upon entering the order. This is not seen as a disability, but as a prerequisite for their work. For sight, they believe, is a distraction. The material they work with is too subtle, too complex to be understood by the crude sense of vision. It must be understood by touch alone. The weavers live and work in a secluded, sound-dampened scriptorium deep within the matriarch's estate. They work in absolute meditative silence, a silence so profound that the only sounds are the soft whisper of thread moving through their fingers and the gentle, rhythmic clicking of their needles. The material they weave is the legendary shadow silk, one of the most prized and dangerous substances in the entire Underdark. It is the silk of the phase spider, a massive, terrifying arachnid that does not live on the material plane alone. It flickers in and out of the ethereal plane, its body phasing between reality and ghostly translucence. Its silk retains this unique property. It is not a solid black color. Instead, it seems to be woven from pure, liquid night. When you look at a bolt of shadow silk, your eyes do not perceive a surface. It is like looking into a deep, starless pool. It drinks the light around it, twisting and bending it, creating a shimmering, almost oily effect. A gown made from this material does not simply hang on the body. It flows and writhes, its edges seeming to dissolve into the surrounding shadows, making the wearer appear as though she is partially incorporeal, a living ghost of breathtaking and terrifying beauty. Harvesting this silk is an incredibly dangerous task, undertaken only by the most skilled and foolhardy of hunters. It requires a deep understanding of planar magic and nerves of solid stone. The raw silk is then delivered to the silent weavers, who are the only ones with the skill and sensitivity to handle it. The weavers sit at their great obsidian looms, their faces serene and focused, their blind eyes turned towards some unseen inner vision. Their hands, pale and slender, move with a slow, deliberate grace, a dance of breathtaking precision. Their long, delicate fingers are their eyes. They can feel the subtle, almost imperceptible shifts in the texture of the shadow silk thread. They can sense the way the ethereal energy hums within the fibers. They read the material with their skin, understanding its strange, planar properties in a way that no sighted person ever could. Their needles are not made of wood or metal. They are long, slender shards of polished obsidian, as black as the thread they manipulate. The gentle, rhythmic click-clack of these needles is the only percussion in the silent, sacred space, a slow, steady heartbeat marking the gown's painstaking creation. The design of the gown is ancient and traditional, a flowing, high-collared garment that is both elegant and severe. It is designed to accentuate the wearer's height and slender frame, to create an aura of commanding, untouchable authority. But the true beauty of the gown lies in its adornments. These are not the glittering diamonds or sparkling jewels favored by surface dwellers. Dakalfar aesthetics are more subtle, more menacing. The high collar of the gown is often embroidered with a complex pattern of tiny, polished onyx beads. They do not sparkle. They absorb the light, creating small, perfect pinpricks of absolute blackness against the shifting liquid darkness of the shadow silk. The long, bell-shaped sleeves might be trimmed with a row of rare gray pearls, harvested from the lightless, crushing depths of a subterranean ocean. They have a soft, lustrous sheen, like captured moonlight, a cool and lonely beauty that speaks of immense pressure and profound isolation. But the most striking and symbolic adornment is found at the hem of the gown. Sewn into the very edge of the flowing skirt, almost hidden until the wearer moves, is a delicate fringe of small, razor-sharp obsidian shards. They are arranged in a beautiful sawtooth pattern, and they serve a dual purpose. As the bride walks, they create a faint, whispering, glassy chime, a sound as delicate and unnerving as ice cracking in a silent cave. And they are a reminder. They are a clear, unspoken statement that is central to the Dakalfar philosophy. Beauty and lethality are not separate concepts. They are two sides of the same coin. The bride is a thing of breathtaking beauty, a living sculpture of shadow and moonlight. But she is also dangerous. She is the heir to a powerful and ruthless house, and even at the hem of her gown, she carries 1,000 tiny knives. To touch her without permission is to risk being cut. This is the shadow gown. It is more than a piece of clothing. It is a symbol of power, a declaration of intent, and a work of art born from darkness, silence, and pain. It is the perfect attire for a bride who is about to become a queen in a kingdom of eternal night. While the silent weavers meticulously craft the bride's breathtaking shadow gown, the groom, having hopefully returned successfully from his perilous quest and solved the riddle of the whisper box, begins his own solemn and deeply personal preparations for the ceremony. In the cultures of the surface world, a groom's preparation might involve little more than a final fitting for a tailored suit and a celebratory drink with his friends. For a Dakalfar consort, the process is far more profound. It is a ritual purification, a shedding of his old identity, and a mental and spiritual alignment with his new, subservient role. The groom does not simply get dressed for his wedding. He is systematically unmade and then remade in the image his new house requires. This ritual is known as the Vigil of Silence, and it begins precisely 3 days before the wedding ceremony. The groom is escorted from his family's estate, the last time he will ever leave it as a true member of his birth house, and taken to a special, isolated chamber within the grand temple complex of the Dark Elf city. This is not a luxurious suite of rooms. It is a small, Spartan cell carved from the living rock of the cavern. The walls are smooth and bare. The floor is cold stone, and the only furniture is a simple stone slab for sleeping and a small basin for water. The chamber is sealed, and he is left in absolute isolation. There are no visitors, no books, no distractions of any kind. There is only silence, darkness, and the company of his own thoughts. For these 3 days and 3 nights, the groom must undertake a vow of silence. He is forbidden from speaking a single word, from uttering even a soft hum or a quiet sigh. This is the first and most crucial part of his purification. The Dokalfar believe that spoken words dissipate personal power, that they scatter one's focus and expend precious spiritual energy. By remaining silent, the groom is forced to turn his entire consciousness inward. He is not merely being quiet, he is gathering his strength, focusing his will, and preparing his mind for the immense psychological shift that is about to occur. This vow is a profound test of his discipline and his patience. The silence is not peaceful. It is a heavy, pressing weight. In the absence of external sound, the internal world becomes deafeningly loud. He is forced to confront his own anxieties, his ambitions, his fears, and his regrets. He must wrestle with the reality of his new life, a life of immense prestige, but of carefully circumscribed freedom. He must meditate on his new duties, on the absolute loyalty he now owes to his wife and her matriarch. He must come to terms with the fact that his own name will be largely forgotten, that his identity will forever be linked to that of his bride's powerful house. It is a process of ego death, a deliberate and methodical dismantling of his old self to make way for the new. During this time, he partakes only in a ritual fast, consuming nothing but a single cup of cold, clear water each day. This is meant to purify the body, to cleanse it of any lingering attachments to his old life, and to heighten his spiritual sensitivity. He spends his waking hours in a state of deep meditation, his body held in a rigid, prescribed posture, his breathing slow and even. He is emptying himself, becoming a clean, unmarked slate upon which his new identity can be written. On the final night of the vigil, just before the dawn of the wedding day, a time marked not by a rising sun, but by the rhythmic changing of the guard shifts in the city, the seal on his chamber is broken. 2 silent, robed priestesses enter the cell. They do not speak to him, and he does not speak to them. The time has come for the final stage of his preparation, the ritual markings. The priestesses carry with them a small ceramic bowl filled with a thick, glowing paste. This is a special sacred ink prepared according to ancient traditions. It is made from the finely ground powder of a rare bioluminescent lichen that grows only in the most magically potent areas of the cavern, mixed with a carrier of purified cave water and a single drop of the groom's own blood to attune it to his life force. The ink glows with a soft, ethereal, silvery blue light, a cool and otherworldly luminescence. The groom stands silently in the center of the chamber as the priestesses begin to paint his skin. They use fine brushes made from the soft, flexible antennae of a cave moth. Their touch is light, their movements practiced and precise. They are not merely decorating his body, they are writing a story upon his flesh. The patterns they paint are intricate, swirling, and deeply symbolic. They are a visual representation of his entire being, a living document of his worth. On his back, they paint the long, branching patterns of his lineage, a detailed family tree that speaks of the purity of his bloodline. On his chest, over his heart, they paint the arcane symbols representing his specific magical talents and aptitudes, a declaration of the skills he brings to the union. And on his arms and legs, they paint stylized depictions of the great deeds he performed during his trials. A stylized serpent to represent the acquisition of the poison, a complex labyrinth to symbolize the uncovering of a secret, or a fierce, monstrous beast to commemorate his journey into the deep wilderness. The process is slow and meditative, taking several hours to complete. When they are finished, the groom's body is a breathtaking masterpiece of living light. The glowing silvery blue patterns stand out starkly against his dark skin, pulsing with a gentle, hypnotic rhythm. This is his true wedding attire. The simple, dark robes he will wear during the ceremony are merely a covering, a veil of modesty. The glowing markings beneath are his real value, the assets of his life made visible. In the dim light of the ceremony, these patterns will glow faintly through the fabric of his robes, a subtle, ethereal aura that speaks of his lineage, his power, and the trials he has overcome to be worthy of this union. He is no longer just a man. He is a living testament to his own worth, a gift to be presented, a consort ready to fulfill his sacred, subservient duty. The vigil of silence is over. The groom has been purified, emptied, and remade. He is ready. As the bride and groom complete their separate, solemn preparations, the guests, the assembled matriarchs, nobles, and high-ranking members of the city's most powerful houses begin to gather for the ceremony. The venue for a Duck-Hulfar wedding is not chosen for its beauty in the conventional sense. It is chosen for its power, its age, and its profound connection to the deep, magical energies of the earth. The wedding does not take place in an open, airy temple consecrated to a benevolent deity. Such a place would be considered exposed, vulnerable, and deeply distasteful. Instead, the ceremony is held in one of the most sacred and awe-inspiring locations in the entire Underdark. It is a place known as the Fane of the Broodmother. The Fane is not a building constructed by mortal hands. It is a natural, colossal cavern, so vast that the grandest cathedrals of the surface world could fit comfortably within its echoing expanse. To enter the fane is to step out of the already grand city and into a space that feels truly primordial, a place that existed long before the first Dark Elf set foot in these deep caverns. The cavern is roughly circular, its walls rising up to a domed ceiling so high that it is lost in an impenetrable darkness, a private sky of solid stone. The walls themselves are not bare rock. They are a living tapestry of carefully cultivated bioluminescent fungi. Unlike the common greenish moss that illuminates the main city, the fungi here have been bred for their unique and beautiful colors. There are great, velvety patches of deep sapphire blue that pulse with a slow, gentle light. There are delicate, branching corals of soft violet fungus that climb the walls like ghostly trees. And there are clusters of a rare, silvery white moss that cast a cool, elegant light, as pale and as pure as a distant star. These living light sources are arranged with an artist's eye, creating a breathtaking, three-dimensional mural of shifting, silent color. But as magnificent as the living walls are, they are not the main feature of the fane. The entire cavern is dominated by the presence of a single geological marvel that sits in the very center of the space. It is a geode, but on a scale that defies belief. It is the size of a nobleman's manor, a great, rough, spherical boulder of dull gray stone. But a huge section of the geode has been broken away, or perhaps was never fully formed, leaving its interior exposed. And the sight of that interior is enough to silence even the most jaded of Dokkalfar nobles. The inside of the great geode is a breathtaking, crystalline forest. It is coated with massive, perfectly formed amethyst crystals, some as tall and as thick as ancient trees. They are not a pale, delicate lavender. They are a deep, dark, royal purple, the color of a twilight sky just before it gives way to blackness. They jut out at all angles, catching and refracting the faint bioluminescent light from the cavern walls, creating a dazzling, kaleidoscopic display of purple and silver. But the crystals also produce their own light. From deep within their geometric hearts, a faint internal glow emanates, a soft, purple luminescence that seems to pulse with a slow, ancient, and powerful rhythm. It is as if a great, sleeping heart is beating within the stone, a heart that has been beating for millions of years. This is the Broodmother, the great heart crystal from which the fane takes its name. The atmosphere within the fane is unlike anywhere else in the city. The air is cold, but not unpleasantly so. It is a clean, crisp, static cold, like the air after a lightning strike, and it carries the faint mineral scent of ozone and charged crystal. The silence is the most profound you have ever experienced. The natural acoustics of the domed cavern are perfect, yet unsettling. Sound does not echo here. It is carried. A single soft-spoken whisper from one side of the cavern can be heard with perfect crystal clarity on the other. This creates an environment of intense, watchful silence, where every guest is aware that their quietest comment can be overheard by all. It enforces a strict, solemn decorum upon the entire assembly. But the silence is not absolute. If you listen carefully, It is a faint, almost inaudible hum, a deep, resonant frequency that seems to originate from the great amethyst geode itself. It is a sound that you feel more than you hear, a low thrumming that vibrates through the stone floor and up into your bones. It is the sound of the earth's deep magic, the song of the brood mother, and it fills the entire cavern with a sense of immense, ancient power. At the very center of this vast, silent, and humming cavern, directly in front of the open face of the great geode, is the focal point of the ceremony. There is no raised platform, no flower-adorned archway, no traditional altar. There is only a large, perfectly flat, circular slab of polished obsidian, set flush with the cavern floor. It is perhaps 20 feet in diameter, and its surface is so black and so highly polished that it has no reflection in the conventional sense. Instead, it captures the faint, glowing lights from the cavern walls and the deep purple luminescence of the amethyst crystals above, and it reflects them back not as a clear image, but as a swirling, distorted star field. To look down at the obsidian disk is to look into a dark, still, silent pool of captured galaxies. It is beautiful, dizzying, and deeply profound. This is where the bride and groom will meet. This is where the vows will be spoken. This is the sacred, unholy ground where a new alliance will be forged, witnessed by the silent, judging eyes of the city's most powerful, and blessed by the ancient, humming heart of the earth itself. The guests take their places around the perimeter of the cavern, melting into the shadows, their dark robes making them almost invisible against the dimly lit walls. They stand in silence, their faces unreadable masks of polite neutrality, and they wait for the ceremony to begin in this cathedral of sunless, crystalline night. The vast, crystalline cavern of the fane of the brood mother is now filled, though you would hardly know it. The assembled guests, the highest echelon of Dokalfar society, have taken their places. They do not stand in chattering groups. They stand apart, alone, or in small, silent clusters, their dark forms blending seamlessly into the deep shadows that pool at the cavern's edge. Their faces, pale and elegant in the faint, multicolored light of the fungi and crystals, are perfect, unreadable masks of aristocratic indifference. Their silence is a living thing, a palpable presence in the cold, still air. They are not here to celebrate. They are here to witness, to analyze, and to judge. Every noble in this cavern is a political rival, a potential ally, or both. And this ceremony is a crucial piece of data in their endless, complex calculations of power. All eyes are fixed on the two dark, unadorned archways that serve as the main entrances to the fane, set on opposite sides of the cavern. And they wait. There is no herald to announce the arrival of the wedding party. There is no swell of music to signal the beginning of the procession. The only sound is the deep, almost subsonic hum of the great amethyst geode, a sound that feels like the slow, steady breathing of the earth itself. The procession, when it begins, is an exercise in stark, silent minimalism. From the archway on the right, the groom emerges. He walks alone. He is dressed in simple, unadorned robes of the darkest charcoal gray, the fabric chosen for its ability to absorb light. The cut is severe and elegant, designed not to draw attention, but to create a silhouette of quiet, dignified submission. His hands are clasped loosely before him, a posture of deference. His head is slightly bowed, his gaze directed towards the polished obsidian floor a few feet in front of him. He does not look at the assembled guests. He does not look at the breathtaking crystal heart of the cavern. His world has shrunk to the path directly before him. As he walks, the faint, silvery blue light of the ritual markings on his skin becomes visible. It is a subtle, ethereal glow that seems to emanate from within him, filtering through the dark fabric of his robes. It is like seeing the ghost of a constellation moving through the night sky. The glowing patterns of his lineage and his achievements are on display, but in a muted, respectful way. They are a silent testament to his worth, a resume written in light, presented for his new family's approval. His steps are slow, measured, and completely silent on the stone floor. He moves with a liquid grace, but it is the grace of a panther, not of a prince. It is the grace of a creature that is powerful but leashed. He is a living symbol of controlled strength, of power willingly surrendered. He is not a partner in this ceremony. He is the offering. He makes his slow, solitary way towards the great obsidian disk at the center of the cavern and stops just at its edge, turning to face the empty archway on the opposite side. And there he stands, a still, silent figure, his bowed head and glowing skin a study in respectful anticipation. He waits for his bride. A few moments later, which stretch into an eternity in the profound silence of the fane, she appears. The bride enters from the opposite archway, and the shift in the cavern's atmosphere is immediate and undeniable. If the groom's entrance was a whisper, hers is a commanding, silent roar. She too walks alone, but her presence fills the entire vast space. She is dressed in the Kelthar, the shadow gown, and it is a thing of breathtaking, terrifying beauty. The fabric, woven from the phase-shifting silk of the great spiders, seems to drink the faint, colored light from the cavern walls. It is a vortex of pure, living darkness, its edges blurring and dissolving into the shadows around her, making it seem as though she is gliding rather than walking. The long, elegant train of the gown flows behind her, not rustling, but whispering, a sound like dry leaves skittering across a frozen lake. The tiny, razor-sharp obsidian shards sewn into its hem catch the purple light from the geode, creating a trail of fleeting, dangerous sparks in her wake. Her posture is the complete opposite of her groom's. Her back is ramrod straight, her chin is held high, and her gaze is directed forward, a piercing, imperious look that sweeps over the assembled guests without truly acknowledging any of them. Her face is a mask of cool, serene authority. She is not an offering. She is the divine priestess presiding over her own sacred ceremony. She is the center of power in this cavern, and every silent, shuffling step she takes reinforces this fact. Her movement is slow, deliberate, and imbued with an unshakable confidence. It is the walk of a predator, of a queen, of a being who has never in her life known a moment of self-doubt. The silent, judging eyes of the assembled nobles follow her every move, but their gazes hold a different quality than the one they gave her groom. They watched him with analytical curiosity. They watch her with a mixture of respect, envy, and a healthy dose of fear. She is the future. She is the next great matriarch in the making, and everyone in this room knows it. She reaches the edge of the great obsidian disk, and for the first time, her eyes meet those of her waiting groom. He raises his head slightly, but his gaze remains deferential. Her expression does not change. There is no smile of affection, no blush of a happy bride. There is only a cool, appraising look, the look of a master examining a valuable, newly acquired tool. This silent visual exchange is the first and only communication. It is a moment that perfectly encapsulates their future relationship. His submission and her absolute, unquestionable dominance. The procession is complete. The bride and groom stand on opposite sides of the dark, star-filled obsidian altar, two solitary figures poised at the beginning of a union forged not of love, but of shadow and stone. The guests hold a collective, silent breath. The great geode hums with its ancient terrestrial power. The stage is set. The vows, which are not vows, but a binding contract, are about to be spoken. With the bride and groom now in their places, standing as still as statues on opposite sides of the great obsidian disk, the central ritual of the wedding ceremony is ready to begin. There is no joyous music, no scattering of flower petals, no sentimental speech about the power of love. There is only a deepening of the already profound silence, a signal that the most sacred and binding part of the proceedings is at hand. From the assembled crowd of nobles, a single figure glides forward. This is the presiding matriarch, the mother of the bride, a figure of immense power and age, whose face is a beautiful, terrifying mask of ancient wisdom and absolute authority. She takes her place at the edge of the obsidian altar, positioned between the bride and groom, but slightly behind her daughter, a subtle reinforcement of the matriarchal line of power. She does not smile. Her gaze is hard and focused, the gaze of a master artisan about to perform the most delicate and important work of her life. She raises her hands slowly, and the ceremony of the vows begin. The vows are not spoken in Elvish, the common tongue of the Dokalfar. That language is for everyday matters, for commerce, for politics, for gossip. The words spoken today are far older, far more potent. The matriarch begins to chant in a language that has not been used in common parlance for thousands of years. It is known simply the ancient tongue, a dead, esoteric language used only for the most powerful magical incantations and the most sacred of binding rituals. The words are guttural and sibilant, full of hard consonants and long drawn-out vowels that seem to hang in the cold, still air. It sounds less like a language and more like the grinding of tectonic plates, like the whisper of wind through a cracked megalith. To the uninitiated, the words are meaningless, but every noble in this cavern understands their weight, their power, and their absolute, unbreakable finality. These are not words of love. They are words of law. As the matriarch chants, let us translate the meaning behind these ancient, powerful sounds, for the nature of these vows reveals the very soul of the Dokalfa people. She begins by addressing the groom. Her voice, though speaking in this alien tongue, is clear and commanding, carrying across the silent cavern. She speaks of his lineage, of the purity of his blood, and the strength it will bring to her house. Then she recites the first of his binding vows. His strength, the ancient words translate, shall be her shield. This is not a poetic metaphor. It is a literal, magical contract. It means that all of his physical and magical power, his ability to defend and to attack, is no longer his own. It is now sworn to the defense of his bride, and by extension, her entire house. To raise a hand against her, or to fail to protect her from harm, would not just be an act of betrayal. It would be a violation of a magical oath, an act that would cause his own power to turn against him, to wither and die. He is now her living armor, her sworn weapon. The matriarch then turns her attention to the bride, her voice taking on a slightly different, though no less severe tone. She speaks of the bride's wisdom, of her cunning, and of the sacred duty she has to lead her house to greater glory. Then she recites the vow that will bind her daughter to her new consort. Her wisdom, the translation would be, shall be his command. This vow solidifies the power dynamic of their union. It legally and magically establishes the bride as the absolute authority in their relationship. Her word is now his law. To defy a direct order from her would be to break the magical contract of their marriage. His intellect, his skills, his very will are now instruments to be wielded by her strategic mind. He may offer counsel, he may give advice, but the final decision, in all matters great and small, is hers alone. The final vow is the most profound, the one that seals the future of both their houses for all time. The matriarch raises her voice slightly, her words resonating with the deep, humming frequency of the great crystal behind her. She speaks of the future, of the continuation of their bloodlines, of the generations yet to come. And she recites the final binding phrase, "His bloodline shall serve her house until the stone itself turns to dust." This is the heart of the contract. It is a vow of permanence, a promise that extends far beyond the lives of the two individuals standing here. It means that any children born of this union will belong solely to the bride's house. They will carry her family name. They will be raised as her heirs, and they will continue her matriarchal line. The groom's family name in this context will be forgotten, a footnote in the grand history of his wife's ascendant house. He is a genetic vessel, a conduit through which his desirable traits are passed on, but the fruits of that union belong entirely to the matriarch. The phrase, "until the stone itself turns to dust," is not a poetic flourish. It is a magical failsafe of terrifying permanence. It means the contract is eternal, unbreakable by any means short of the world's own geological destruction. Divorce is not an option. Annulment is an impossibility. The union is absolute. As the final guttural word of the vow fades into the profound silence, the time comes for the physical sealing of the pact. There is no exchange of rings, no joining of hands in a gesture of mutual support. Such gestures imply equality, a concept that has no place in this ceremony. Instead, the bride and groom take one slow, deliberate step forward, moving to the edge of the obsidian altar. They raise their hands. They are both wearing fine, dark gloves made from the supple hide of a cave lizard. Simultaneously, they each extend a single gloved finger. They reach across the dark, star-filled surface of the obsidian disc, their fingers moving with a slow, hypnotic grace. And then they touch. It is the absolute minimum of physical contact, the tips of their two gloved fingers meeting in the exact center of the altar. It is not a warm, loving touch. It is a cold, formal, and precise gesture. It is the dotting of an I, the signing of a name on a dotted line. It is the closing of a circuit. As their fingers touch, a faint silvery blue light flashes from the point of contact, a spark of magical energy that flares for a single brilliant instant before vanishing. A low, resonant chime echoes from the great geode, a single pure note that hangs in the air, confirming that the pact has been witnessed, the contract has been accepted, and the binding is now complete. The bride and groom retract their hands. They step back to their original positions. They are now, in the eyes of the law, the gods, and every noble in this cavern, husband and wife. A union has been forged, and the cold, beautiful, and dangerous dance of their shared life has just begun. With the magical and legal binding of the vows now complete, one might expect the ceremony to conclude. The contract has been signed, the union forged. But the Dokalfar are a people who value symbolism as much as they value substance. A marriage is not truly finalized until it has been tested, until the theoretical principles of the union have been demonstrated in a tangible, physical way. And so we come to the final and most perilous ritual of the wedding ceremony. It is a tradition that takes a familiar, almost universal wedding trope, the sharing of a drink from a single cup, and twists it into something uniquely and terrifyingly dark elven. This is the ritual of the Shared Chalice. The presiding matriarch, her face an unreadable mask of solemnity, turns to an attendant priestess who has been waiting silently in the shadows. The priestess steps forward, her hands held out before her. She carries a single object, a large, ornate chalice, which she presents to the matriarch with a deep, reverent bow. The chalice is a work of art, a thing of dark and menacing beauty. It is forged from a strange, silvery metal that seems to absorb the faint light of the cavern rather than reflect it, giving it a soft, matte luster. The base of the chalice is carved into the shape of a coiled, sleeping serpent, its scales rendered in exquisite detail. The stem is the serpent's long, graceful body, rising up to a cup that is shaped like the serpent's open, fanged mouth. The entire object is cold, elegant, and radiates a faint, almost imperceptible aura of danger. The matriarch takes the chalice and holds it aloft for all the assembled guests to see. And now we must consider its contents. The cup does not hold a fine celebratory wine. It does not contain a sweet nectar or a sacred blessed water. The liquid within the chalice is a pale, milky, and slightly viscous fluid, and it is one of the most complex and dangerous alchemical concoctions known to the Dokalfar. It is a mixture of two separate and violently opposed substances. The first ingredient is the venom of the goose-faced centipede, a rare and terrifying creature that haunts the deepest, most lightless caverns. The venom is a potent neurotoxin that does not kill, but paralyzes. A single drop is enough to cause complete and total muscular paralysis, to stop the heart and lungs, and to induce a state that is, for all intents and purposes, indistinguishable from death. The victim remains fully conscious, trapped within a silent, frozen prison of their own flesh, until they suffocate. The second ingredient is the only known antidote to this venom. It is a milky sap harvested from the roots of the moonlight lotus, a phosphorescent plant that grows only in hidden underwater grottos. The sap, when ingested, reverses the effects of the venom, slowly and painstakingly restarting the body's paralyzed systems. The creation of the liquid in the chalice is an incredibly delicate and dangerous art. The venom and the antidote must be mixed in a perfect 1-to-1 ratio. The mixture is highly unstable. Even a slight imbalance, a single drop too much of one substance or the other, will have disastrous consequences. A dose with too much venom will lead to a true, irreversible death. A dose with too much antidote will cause a violent, agonizing series of convulsions that can shatter bones and rupture organs. To drink from this chalice is to place your life in the hands of the alchemist who prepared it. It is an act of supreme faith in the science and skill of another. The matriarch holds the chalice for a moment, the milky liquid swirling gently within the serpent-mouthed cup. Then, with a slow, deliberate grace, she presents it to her daughter, the bride. The bride accepts the chalice. She holds it with a steady, unwavering hand. Her face, framed by the liquid darkness of her shadow gown, is calm and serene. She looks directly at her new husband, her eyes holding his deferential gaze. This is the first part of the test. She, as the dominant partner in this union, must be the first to face the trial. She must demonstrate her own courage, her own fearlessness in the face of a symbolic death. She slowly brings the chalice to her lips. The entire cavern holds its breath. The only sound is the deep, resonant hum of the great crystal. She tilts the cup and takes a small, measured sip of the pale, milky liquid. The effect is immediate and dramatic. A violent shiver runs through her body. The color drains from her already pale face, leaving it the color of bleached bone. Her eyes, a moment ago so full of imperious fire, go wide and then glaze over, becoming dull and unfocused. She stands perfectly still for a single terrifying heartbeat, and then her body goes completely limp. She does not fall. Two of her mother's guards, who have moved into position behind her with silent, practiced efficiency, catch her before she can collapse, holding her upright in a posture of serene, death-like repose. She is now completely paralyzed, a living statue, her mind fully aware but trapped within a frozen shell. She has passed her test of courage. Now comes the second and more important part of the ritual. The matriarch takes the chalice from her daughter's unresisting hand. She then turns and presents it to the groom. This is the ultimate test of the marriage. It is a test of trust, a physical manifestation of the vows they have just taken. By offering him the chalice, the bride's house is demonstrating its power over life and death. And by accepting it, the groom must demonstrate his absolute, unquestioning faith in his bride's house. He must trust that the alchemist who prepared the mixture was skilled and precise. He must trust that his new family has not, in this final, crucial moment, decided to eliminate him with a dose of pure, unadulterated poison. It is the ultimate vulnerability. He takes the chalice. His hand, you notice, is perfectly steady. There is not the slightest tremor. This is a testament to his years of disciplined training, his ability to control his fear. He looks at the pale, still, death-like form of his bride. He looks at the milky, dangerous liquid in the cup. And then he drinks. He takes a sip of the exact same size as his bride's. The same violent shiver racks his body. The faint, silvery blue glow of the markings on his skin seems to flicker and dim. His body goes rigid and then limp. The guards behind him catch him, holding him in the same state of living death as his wife. For a long, silent, and incredibly tense minute, the bride and groom stand there, two still, paralyzed figures united in a shared, symbolic death. And then, as the antidote begins its slow, miraculous work, life returns. A flicker of movement in the bride's finger, a slow, shuddering breath from the groom. The color gradually seeps back into their faces. Their eyes regain their focus. Within a few moments, they are both fully recovered, standing on their own, their bodies tingling with the strange pins and needles sensation of their nerves coming back online. They have faced the abyss together, and they have both returned. They have trusted in the skill and honor of the bride's house, and that trust has been rewarded. The test is over. They are no longer just a legally and magically bound couple. They are now truly united, having shared a single profound experience, a brief, cold, and terrifying journey to the very edge of death and back again. The chalice is empty. The ritual is complete. With the high drama of the ceremony now concluded, the bride and groom, having both returned from their shared symbolic death, lead the procession out of the fane of the brood mother. One might assume that the time for tension and testing is over, that what follows would be a joyous, relaxed celebration. But that would be a profound misunderstanding of the Dark Elfar psyche. The danger of the ceremony has passed, but the danger of politics is only just beginning. The post-ceremony feast is not a party. It is a battlefield, and the weapons are whispers, glances, and the subtle art of conversation. Welcome to the Feast of Whispers. The guests are led to a grand feasting hall, a long, vaulted cavern adjacent to the fane. The decor is opulent but severe. The long walls are draped with heavy, dark tapestries, woven with the histories of the bride's house, depictions of great victories, cunning assassinations, and strategic alliances. The only light comes from hundreds of tall, slender candles made from a rare wax that burns with a cold, blue, smokeless flame. These candles are placed in intricate silver candelabras that line the long, black feasting tables, casting a dim, flickering, and deeply unsettling light on the assembled faces. The atmosphere is not one of revelry. It is thick with a quiet, watchful tension. There is no music, no laughter, no boisterous toasts. The only sounds are the soft, almost imperceptible clinking of silver cutlery against obsidian plates, the gentle pouring of dark, viscous wine, and a constant, low, sibilant hum of whispered conversations. Every noble in this room is engaged in a delicate dance of diplomacy. They are probing for weaknesses, forging secret alliances, spreading subtle misinformation, and gauging the shifting tides of power in the wake of this new major union. To be at a dark elf feast is to be a spy in a room full of other spies. The most crucial aspect of this political theater is the seating arrangement. It is not a matter of convenience or personal preference. It is a physical, three-dimensional map of the city's current political landscape, and it is a source of intense, obsessive scrutiny. The head table, of course, is a long, slightly raised dais at the far end of the hall. Here sits the new couple, flanked by the bride's mother, the presiding matriarch, and the highest-ranking members of her immediate family. This is the undisputed center of power. The tables closest to this dais are the most coveted positions. To be seated here is a public declaration of one's favor with the ruling house. The matriarchs of powerful allied houses will be seated here, their placement a clear signal of their importance. A newly favored family, perhaps one whose son was a runner-up in the consort selection, might be given a prominent seat as a gesture of goodwill. As you move further away from the head table, the status of the guests diminishes. The mid-level houses, the minor nobles, the families whose influence is on the wane, they are relegated to the tables in the center of the hall. And at the furthest, darkest end of the cavern, near the kitchens, sit the truly unimportant. The families who have been invited out of barest necessity and are now being publicly, if politely, shamed by their lowly position. To read the seating chart of a Dark Alfar feast is to read the secret heart of the city's power structure. A noble seated slightly closer to the head table than they were at the last major gathering knows their star is on the rise. A matriarch who finds herself moved one table further away knows that her influence is fading, and that she must act quickly to reverse her fortunes. The entire evening is a silent, ruthless audit of everyone's social and political capital. And then, of course, there is the food. The cuisine served at the feast is as strange, as beautiful, and as potentially dangerous as every other aspect of this culture. It is a showcase of the exotic and difficult to acquire delicacies of the Underdark. Each dish a statement of the host's wealth and power. The centerpiece of the feast is often a whole roasted cave lizard, a massive, draconic creature whose meat is a pale, tender delicacy. It is served on a great silver platter, its skin glazed with a dark, spicy sauce made from fermented fungi, its eye sockets filled with glowing edible pearls. Servers carve thin, translucent slices of the meat for the guests, a silent and efficient process. There are delicate stews served in individual obsidian bowls. One might be a creamy, flavorful bisque made from a blend of rare, highly sought-after subterranean fungi, each with its own unique flavor profile. One tastes of pepper, another of smoked meat, a third of a strange citrus-like zest. Another stew might be a clear, shimmering consommé, in which float the tiny, bioluminescent eggs of blind cavefish, which pulse with a soft blue light until they are consumed. There are jellies and aspects of a kind you could never imagine. One might be a beautiful, translucent dome, a perfectly clear jelly made from the filtered, purified slime of a particular cave slug, in which are suspended tiny, edible flowers that glow with a soft pink light. Another could be a dark, shimmering jelly that tastes of berries and nightshade, a thrilling combination of the sweet and the forbidden. And to drink, there is the wine. It is not the light, fruity beverage of the surface. Dokalfar wine is a dark, thick, almost syrupy liquid, the color of bruised plums, that is fermented in complete darkness for over a century. It is incredibly potent, and it is known for its strange, psychoactive properties. It is said that a single glass of this wine can induce a state of heightened perception, a trance-like condition where one might experience fleeting, prophetic visions. a glimpse of a rival's downfall, a flash of insight into a difficult puzzle, or a premonition of a coming danger. This makes conversation at the feast even more treacherous, as one can never be sure if their dining companion's strange, cryptic comment is a product of the wine's influence or a carefully veiled threat. Every dish that is served is a work of art, a feast for the eyes as much as the palate. But every guest knows that in a society where poison is a common political tool, one must always be cautious. It is customary for the host to take the first bite of every dish, a public demonstration that the food is safe. But a clever poisoner can devise a toxin that only affects a specific individual, or one that has a delayed effect. And so the nobles eat. They eat the strange, beautiful food, and they drink the dark, prophetic wine. And all the while, their senses are on high alert. They are watching, they are listening, they are whispering. This is the Feast of Whispers. It is the final, grueling test of the wedding day, an endurance trial of social and political maneuvering. And only when the last guest has departed, and the last blue-flamed candle has been snuffed out, can the new couple truly begin the next and perhaps most challenging chapter of their shared lives. As the last of the whispering, calculating guests departs from the feasting hall, and the blue-flamed candles are extinguished one by one, a deep, resonant silence once again falls upon the temple complex. The public portion of the wedding is over. The union has been forged, tested, and witnessed by the assembled powers of the city. For a human couple, this would be the moment to retire to a luxurious, private bedchamber, a space of comfort and intimacy to begin their new life together. But for the Dokhalfar, the night is not yet over. There is one final trial to be faced, a test that is more intimate and, in some ways, more revealing than any that have come before. The bride and groom are not escorted to a bedchamber. They are led by the presiding matriarch and a small retinue of silent priestesses to a different, more secluded part of the temple. They stop before a large circular door made from a single, massive slab of basalt, its surface covered in interlocking arcane symbols. This is the entrance to the Valsharis, the Chamber of Concordance. The matriarch turns to the new couple. Her face is as stern and as unreadable as ever, but there is a flicker of something in her eyes, a look of profound, almost academic curiosity. She speaks to them for the first time in the common Elvish tongue, her voice a low, commanding whisper that echoes in the silent corridor. She informs them that their union, while legally and magically binding, is not yet considered complete. It is a partnership on paper, a strategic alliance of two houses. But for it to be a true, functional union, they must prove that they can operate not just as individuals bound by a contract, but as a single, cohesive, strategic unit. This chamber is their final examination. With that, the great stone door grinds open, revealing a dark, empty space within. The bride and groom are gestured inside. They step across the threshold into the darkness, and the stone door grinds shut behind them with a deafening final thud. A series of heavy, echoing clicks signal that the door has been magically and mechanically locked from the outside. They are now alone, together, and they will not be released until the next morning, after one full city guard cycle has passed. The chamber is not a prison cell, but it is not a comfortable space either. It is a large, circular room, perhaps 30 feet in diameter, with high vaulted ceilings. The walls, floor, and ceiling are made of the same smooth, featureless black stone. There is no furniture, no fire, no source of comfort whatsoever, and it is completely, utterly dark. The faint, glowing markings on the groom's skin provide the only illumination, casting long, distorted, silvery blue shadows across the empty space. But this room is not what it seems. It is a puzzle. It is a complex and diabolically clever mechanism, a fusion of intricate engineering and esoteric magic. The chamber is a test of their ability to work together, to combine their distinct skills in pursuit of a common goal. Their objective is simple: to pass the night in comfort. Hidden somewhere within the chamber's walls and floor are secret compartments, magically sealed alcoves that contain everything they would need: a small supply of food and water, a pile of warm, soft furs to sleep on, and even a magical light source that will fill the room with a warm, steady glow. But these comforts are not freely given. They must be earned, and they can only be earned by the two of them working in perfect harmony. The puzzle of the chamber is designed to be unsolvable by a single person. It requires the precise application of both of their unique strengths. The bride, with her sharp, strategic mind, her years of training in logic, history, and political theory, must be the one to decipher the chamber's overarching logic. The clues are all around them, hidden in plain sight. Perhaps the faint, almost invisible seams in the stone floor form a complex star chart that, when correctly interpreted, points to a specific sequence of pressure plates. Perhaps the subtle variations in the temperature of the walls correspond to a coded musical phrase that must be hummed at a specific pitch to deactivate a magical ward. It is a test of her intellect, her ability to see the larger pattern in a sea of confusing details. But she cannot solve the puzzle alone. While she can deduce the what, she cannot perform the how. That is the groom's role. His highly trained magical senses are needed to implement her strategies. He might need to channel a precise amount of elemental energy into a specific rune that she has identified. He might need to use his subtle illusion magic to reveal a hidden symbol on the ceiling that is invisible to the naked eye. He might need to use his knowledge of ancient languages to translate a series of glyphs that she has discovered. His magical aptitude is the key that will unlock the doors her intellect has found. The first few hours of their confinement are a silent, tense period of individual investigation. The bride paces the chamber, her fingers trailing along the walls, her mind racing, absorbing every detail, forming and discarding a dozen different theories. The groom stands in the center of the room, his eyes closed, his senses extended, feeling the faint, humming currents of magic that flow through the stone, trying to map the chamber's arcane circuitry. Then they must do something that may be entirely new to them. They must communicate. They must share their findings, pool their knowledge, and devise a unified strategy. It is a delicate process. She cannot simply command him. She must guide his skills with precision. He cannot act independently. He must subordinate his power to her strategic vision. Their success depends entirely on their ability to synchronize their minds and their abilities. If they fail, if their egos get in the way, if her strategy is flawed, if his magic is imprecise, or if they simply cannot find a way to work together, then the consequences are simple but profound. They will spend the entire night in a cold, dark, empty stone room. It is not a lethal test. There is no physical danger, but the symbolic weight of failure is immense. To fail the Chamber of Concordance is to prove that their union is dysfunctional, that their combined strength is less than the sum of its parts. It is a deeply shameful outcome that would cast a long, dark shadow over the very beginning of their shared lives. But if they succeed, the rewards are both practical and symbolic. A section of the wall might slide away, revealing a cozy, fur-lined alcove bathed in a warm, gentle light. They will have earned their comfort for the night. More importantly, they will have passed the final, most intimate test. They will have proven that they can function as a single, powerful unit. Their marriage is no longer just a contract. It is now a partnership of cold, hard logic and potent, directed power. It is only after they have solved the chamber's puzzle together, after they have earned their comfort through their combined efforts, that their marriage is considered, in the deepest sense of the word, to be consummated. With the first changing of the city guard, a deep, resonant chime echoes through the temple complex, signaling the start of a new day cycle in the city of eternal night. The great stone door to the Chamber of Concordance grinds open with a slow, heavy finality. The bride and groom emerge. Whether they emerge from a night of cold, uncomfortable failure, or from the warm, fur-lined comfort of a solved puzzle, is a secret they will keep for the rest of their lives. But their public demeanor gives nothing away. Their faces are, as always, cool, serene, and unreadable. The wedding is now, in every sense of the word, complete. And with this first dawn of their new life, the groom's transformation is finalized. He is no longer the promising son of a lesser house. He is now officially and irrevocably a consort of the bride's great and powerful family. His old life is a closed book. His new reality, a life of immense privilege and profound confinement, has just begun. He is immediately escorted to his new quarters, a suite of rooms within the sprawling, labyrinthine estate of his wife's family. The luxury is breathtaking, far beyond anything he has ever known. The floors are polished obsidian. The walls are hung with tapestries of shimmering shadow silk, and the furniture is carved from rare, petrified woods and inlaid with precious metals. He has access to a private library filled with ancient scrolls and forbidden texts, a state-of-the-art alchemical laboratory for his magical studies, and a staff of silent, efficient servants who cater to his every material need. He has access to the finest resources the house can provide, rare spell components, enchanted artifacts, and the vast intelligence network that is the matriarch's eyes and ears throughout the city. This is the gilded cage he has earned. For all this luxury and privilege, he is a prisoner. A very comfortable, very well-appointed prisoner, but a prisoner nonetheless. He can no longer come and go as he pleases. His every movement is monitored. When he walks through the grand, silent corridors of the estate, he is always aware of the watchful eyes of the house guards, stoic female warriors who are his protectors but also his wardens. When he wishes to use the library or the laboratory, he must submit a formal request, his activities logged and noted. He is an asset, a valuable investment, and the matriarch protects her investments with a jealous, possessive diligence. His daily life is now governed by a new set of duties, his 3 primary functions as a consort. His first and most sacred duty is to provide an heir. The continuation and strengthening of the matriarch's bloodline is the central reason for this union, and the pressure to produce a child, preferably a magically gifted female, is immense. This is not a matter of romantic intimacy. It is a clinical, biological imperative. He will undergo regular examinations by the house's priestess healers, his health and vitality monitored with scientific precision. His diet, his exercise, his sleep patterns, all are carefully managed to ensure he is in peak physical condition for this most crucial of tasks. The production of an heir is his biological purpose, the rent he pays for his luxurious new life. His second duty is to lend his skills to his new house. The magical aptitude that made him such an attractive candidate is not his to use for personal projects or idle experimentation. It is now a resource belonging to the house, to be deployed as the matriarch sees fit. If she requires a powerful illusion to deceive a visiting dignitary, he will be called upon to cast it. If she needs a complex magical ward to be analyzed and broken, he will be assigned the task. If she wishes to scry upon the activities of a rival, his will be the eyes that peer into the arcane ether. He is the house's chief magical specialist, a highly skilled operative whose talents are on permanent retainer. His third duty is perhaps the most complex. He is expected to act as a political advisor and agent, a trusted counselor to his wife and, by extension, his matriarch. He is brought into the family's inner council, a place of immense power and secrecy. He is privy to the house's long-term strategies, its hidden alliances, and its darkest secrets. His intelligence and education are now put to the test. He is expected to offer insightful analysis, to devise cunning new strategies, and to use his unique perspective as a former member of another house to provide a fresh point of view. He might be tasked with drafting a coded message to a secret ally, or with planting a piece of subtle misinformation in the ear of a rival's courtier. He is a spy, a diplomat, and a strategist, all rolled into one. But even here, in this position of apparent influence, his power is limited. He can advise, he can suggest, he can argue his case with all the logic and eloquence at his command. But the final decision always rests with the matriarch. He is the trusted minister, but she is the absolute monarch. And with this new role comes the final, most profound change: the loss of his old identity. His former family name, the name he has carried his entire life, is now rarely used. In formal settings, he is introduced not by his own name, but by his new title. He is the consort of the House of the Obsidian Serpent, or whatever his wife's house may be called. He is defined entirely by his relationship to her. The name of his birth family, the house that spent a fortune and a generation grooming him for this very role, is now relegated to a historical footnote. He has traded his personal autonomy for security and influence. He has given up his name in exchange for a life of comfort and purpose, albeit a purpose defined by others. His is a life of paradoxes. He is both a prisoner and a prince. He is both a servant and a counselor. He has immense privilege, but no true freedom. He has influence, but no authority. He is a beautiful, valuable, and powerful tool, held in the steady, calculating hand of his new matriarch. This is the new reality of his existence. This is the life of a Dokalfar consort, a strange and gilded cage in a city of eternal silent night. And so, with the first light of a new day cycle illuminating the groom's new gilded cage, our time in the silent, glowing city of the Dokalfar must come to an end. We have been quiet, unseen observers, privileged to witness one of their most sacred and most alien of ceremonies. Let us take a moment now to retrace the strange and shadowy path we have just walked. We began our journey by descending from the familiar sunlit world, leaving behind its warmth and its chaos for the cold, silent, and profound stillness of the deep earth. We learned that for this ancient and pragmatic people, a wedding is not a matter of the heart. It is a tool of the state, a complex and calculated move in a great, unending game of political chess. It is a union of houses, not of souls, driven by the cold, hard logic of ambition and the relentless pursuit of power. We witnessed the selection of the consort, a process that had more in common with the judging of a prized asset than with a romantic courtship. We saw how a male Dark Elf is groomed from birth to be a perfect, beautiful, and useful prize. His worth measured not by his character, but by the purity of his bloodline and the potency of his magic. We learned of the secret, often lethal, trials he must undergo to prove his cunning and his courage. A grim and silent competition for the ultimate honor of being acquired by a great house. We saw the unique and beautiful horror of the announcement, a message delivered not by a herald, but by a shimmering, iridescent venom weaver. We observed the weaving of its intricate, paralytic silk, a silent, coded contract that was signed not with ink, but with a single, reverent drop of blood. Then came the exchange of gifts, a tradition that was, in truth, a duel of wits and will. We imagined the groom locked away, puzzling over the impenetrable whisper box, a test of his intellect and his patience. And we followed him in our minds on his perilous quest into the monster-haunted depths, in search of the luminous, mythical grave bloom, a test of his bravery and his resourcefulness. We observed the sacred, silent creation of the Keltsar, the shadow gown, a garment woven from living darkness by a cloistered order of blind weavers. We saw how its beauty was interwoven with a quiet menace, its hem adorned with razor-sharp obsidian shards, a perfect symbol of the Dokelfar philosophy that beauty and lethality are one and the same. We sat with the groom through his 3-day vigil of silence, a ritual purification designed to empty him of his old identity. And we watched as his skin was painted with the glowing silvery blue ink of his lineage and his achievements, transforming his very body into a living testament of his worth. We stood as silent guests in the fane of the Brood Mother, a breathtaking, sunless cathedral dominated by the ancient, humming, purple heart of a great amethyst geode. We witnessed the silent procession, the bride's commanding, dominant grace, a stark and powerful contrast to the groom's quiet, deferential submission. We listened as the vows were spoken in a dead, esoteric tongue, and we understood that they were not promises of love, but the articles of a binding, magical, and eternal contract. His strength for her protection, her wisdom for his command, his bloodline for her house. We held our breath during the ritual of the Shared Chalice, a terrifying test of trust, where the bride and groom both drank from a cup of balanced venom and antidote, sharing a symbolic journey to the edge of death and back again, proving their faith in the skill and honor of the bride's powerful family. We sat at the Feast of Whispers, a tense and silent battlefield of political intrigue, where the seating chart was a map of power, and every whispered word was a potential move in the great game. And finally, we followed the couple to the Chamber of Concordance, the final test of their union, a complex puzzle that could only be solved by the perfect fusion of her strategic mind and his magical power, proving their ability to function not as two individuals, but as one cohesive strategic unit. This was not a celebration of love. This was a forging. Two families, two individuals, have been heated in the fires of ambition and hammered together on the cold, hard anvil of political necessity. What has been created is not a happy couple. What has been created is something far more important to the Dokalfar, a new, stronger, and more formidable political entity. And as we reflect on this strange and intricate journey, we come to understand the alien nature of these traditions. The Dokalfar concept of a union is not built on the shifting sands of emotion. It is built on a foundation of shared strength, of complementary skills, of mutual strategic interest. It is a bond designed for survival in a dark, hostile, and eternally treacherous world. Their marriage is a fortress, with each partner a different but essential part of its defenses. It is a partnership as beautiful, as dangerous, and as enduring as the polished obsidian altar upon which it was sealed. And as we retreat from the silent, glowing city, leaving its intricate politics and its cold, beautiful rituals behind, we begin our slow ascent back towards the familiar, sunlit world. Back to a world of messy, complicated, and often illogical emotions. And we are left to wonder, in a world of eternal darkness and constant peril, perhaps a love built on shared strength and cunning is the only kind that can truly last.